Hello everybody and welcome to Kansas Kids Connect for our cool activity dealing with erosion. Now we're hanging out between some crops over here and of course the lovely grain. One of the things that we think about though when it comes to these types of food is where they come from. Now we should hopefully know that a lot of our food is going to come from the ground. And with the ground, what we need for that to happen is going to be soil. Now our big word for the day is going to be erosion and of course soil. We'll get to that in a moment. Erosion is breakdown of rocks and, of course, soil over time. So let's go ahead and explore that right now. Just get right into the meat of it using our cool plot of land that I have set out right here. Doesn't look like land, though, does it? Just kind of looks like black nothingness. That's because we haven't added the soil yet. Soil is found in my awesome bin right here. In each of the plots of land that I have, this is my land, we're going to put 2 scoops of soil. There's 1, there's 2, and I can already hear some of you at home saying, that's not soil. It totally is soil. Just go ahead and think about it as soil. Now, erosion, as I mentioned before, is things breaking down over time. This particular thing will be our soil. We're going to focus on a specific type of erosion, which is wind erosion. Wind erosion happens in Kansas. I don't know if you've been outside lately. There's a lot of wind out there. And I'm going to mimic Kansas winds with this device. So let's go ahead, head on down to my plot of land and see what happens when the wind introduces itself to our soil. Oh, my goodness. Now that looked fun and awesome and dramatic. But the thing is, I didn't want that to happen. Okay? If I want to have soil in my land down here, and I wanted it all through here to, say, grow crops, for an example, it looks like all of my soil is now missing, and that's not very good for me. In order to replace that, I'd have to either buy more soil or find more soil and put all of this back in, and then hopefully add more to it just for the winds to blow all over again. So how do we stop soil erosion from happening? Well, there are a couple ways, okay? One of those ways is by putting something on top of it. In fact, we're going to look at 2 of those in a moment. So let me go get another plot of land and some more soil. Here's our next plot of land. And of course, we are going to take 2 scoops of soil. This way our cool experiment is the same every single time. 2 scoops, it's very important. 1, 2 scoops of soil in every plot of land. 2. Now, the first thing we can take a look at as a covering is something we call mulch. All right? Mulch is right here, or I guess left here for me. This particular mulch is made up of rubber, chewed up rubber. Now, think for a moment what you have as mulch at home. If any of you have mulch at home, think of a moment of what's inside of your mulch. Okay, cool. The great thing is, I can always hear somebody that say wood or leaves or broken up chunks of fiber, even older soil as well. Those are all things that can be inside of your mulch. So I'm going to focus on that organic mulch. I usually hear tires or rubber, but I like to listen to, to pay attention to organic mulch. It breaks down over time. Now, we've placed some mulch on top of our soil. I'm going to be the Kansas winds all over again, and we're going to compare these 2 and see if I've lost any soil. Ready? Here we go. Ooh, did any of you see any of the soil escape? I didn't. I saw some of the soil that was already on the ground moving around, but I didn't see any soil escaping. That's a good thing. We figured out one way to keep soil erosion down. Now, if we just have a layer of mulch, though, that's not really tasty to me. Do any of you like eating wood chips or rubber or old dirty leaves and soil? I don't. There's always one. There's always one. Yeah, put it in with my mulchos, and I eat it with some milk. It's delicious. So let's try something else, okay? Let's get another plot of land. Place that down here. 2 more scoops of soil. 1 and 2. Great. It's looking tasty. Now, We see this first one, once again, we had soil blowout. This second one, we put mulch on top of it, and it looked like it was a great success. We don't really like eating mulch. So I have something that we can plant on top of this soil that would be great for us, and it's grass. Ooh, grass. It's fun to play in, but how does it stack up to the Kansas winds all over? Are you ready? Here we go. Very interesting. Did you see any of that soil escape from underneath the grass? I didn't either. Once again, maybe around the outside, but I didn't see any escape from underneath the grass. It looks like that's something else that we can use to keep our soil down. In both of these cases, we covered up our soil with something to keep the wind away from it. But how many of you enjoy eating grass? Yeah, another bowl of grassos, right? We don't like that either. We don't tend to eat it, but other animals do eat it. And that's one of the fun things that we can grow if we wanted to, say, have some pets or maybe some livestock. Now, like I mentioned, I'm not a big fan of eating grass, but there might be something that we can do and take from these in order to grow the food that we eat. So I'm going to pull over another plot of land that I have sitting that I've already started, and we'll do our last soil erosion activity. So once again, we saw that first one. We had a lot of the soil escape. Our next two, it looks like they stayed in place, but we don't really eat that stuff. So the last one, we have representation of a crop, okay? Now this crop was modeled after sorghum or milo, and I need to put a bunch more in here. This could represent any crop with stalks. Corn, I don't know, pineapples, although pineapples look more like an agave plant, and we don't really have those here. But they are fun to look at, so check out how pineapples actually grow. They're great. So pretty much any of those particular crops that you have, that you can grow, that have a stalk-like system. So give me a moment. I have a bunch of these little sections to fill. And in fact, this is probably a great time for you to get close in and see all these sections that our crops are going to go into. You may notice that there's a pattern. Here's one right here. Here's a straight line that goes all the way across this way. Here's another one, another row, and another one, another row. They're all diagonal. This is done on purpose. There's a reason why we've done it. There is a really cool concept on how wind moves through crops. And we're hoping to take that concept and that idea and practice it, put it in practice here. Give me a moment. I've got a couple more I want to place in. I'm going to leave some space open in the middle, so hopefully we can see some movement occur. We'll just leave the rest of those alone. So we've placed our crops in these various rows, and what we can do is actually plant our crops in such a way that it hopefully mitigates or reduces the impact of the wind. So let me grab my soil one more time. Whoop. There's one scoop. There's our second scoop. Kind of spread that soil around just a little bit. You know, all the crops like soil. Great. Now, I've already pre-mentioned it, so hopefully you can answer this question already. Based upon what we've learned so far, do you think, I'll give you three options, do you think that we are going to keep all of our soil in place? Do you think we'll lose some of our soil? Or do you think we'll lose all of our soil? Okay? So once again, all the soil will stay put, lose only a little, lose all of it. So think about this for a moment. Great. Let's go grab the Kansas winds. Now, my hypothesis is the middle one, but we'll find out what will happen in just a moment. Here we are, Kansas winds, 3, 2, 1. Oh, how many of you said we'd lose a little bit? Good job. And the other two, that's okay. That's part of learning and understanding what the course of all of these experiments are for. So you can see that we did lose soil here in this region, and we did see some escape out the back end closer to you. But a lot of it just ended up here. And you know what? All I have to do is come back through and move this around. Now, of course, soil is going to be a lot smaller than these representations of soil gathering. And as a result, the wind is going to do some different things with those soil pellets. The big thing, though, that helped us out is actually going to be the way that these crops were arranged. Each of these stalks helped to divert the wind. As the wind came towards the stalk, instead of it being a super strong force, it actually split the wind up and diverts some this way and diverts some that way. Especially when you have rows and rows of crops, rows and rows, they all can help deflect the wind and reduce its impact. You can also grow your crops in different orientations, depending on how the wind is blowing in your area, to help build up that wall or that diversion of the air in your area. In fact, that's somebody's job to do. Now, we can go back through really, really quickly and go ahead and blow on each one of these one more time just to see how it's going. So let me take a stand back. We'll start with our crops all over again. 3, 2, 1. Not as much that time. Our grass. Practically nothing. Our mulch. Once again, nothing. And of course, soil that's just out in the open for the wind to grab. This last one is the greatest example of soil erosion, especially by wind. So we discussed erosion today, which is the breaking down of this geologic formation, so soil and rocks. And specifically, we've been using wind this whole time. Remember, wind is something we deal with in Kansas. If you are growing crops or interested in that, you can check out how to grow your crops in a lovely pattern to reduce the effects of wind erosion or soil erosion for your crops. Thank you, everybody, for checking us out. My name is Denzal. Have fun with the rest of your day today.